The last thing I remember before everything went black was the sound of metal tearing through metal, and then nothing. Just darkness, deep, endless darkness that felt like falling through cold water forever. But what came after the darkness? That's where the real nightmare began. When I opened my eyes 17 days later, the first thing I saw was white. White ceiling tiles, white walls, that sterile chemical smell of hospitals that makes your throat tight. My mouth felt like sandpaper, and when I tried to move my arms, pain shot through my entire body like lightning. "Mr. Cole, Marcus, can you hear me?" A woman's face appeared above me. Brown eyes, kind expression, white coat with a name tag that took me several seconds to focus on. Dr. Helen Park, neurologist. "You've been in a medically induced coma for 17 days following a severe car accident," she said slowly, clearly, the way you talk to someone whose brain might not be working right. "You suffered a traumatic brain injury, 3 broken ribs, a fractured collarbone, and significant internal bleeding. You're very lucky to be alive." Lucky. The word hung in the air like smoke. I tried to speak, but my throat wouldn't cooperate. Dr. Park held up a hand. "Don't try to talk yet. Your throat is raw from the breathing tube. Just nod if you understand me." I nodded. Everything hurt. "Good. That's very good. Your motor functions appear intact. Your pupils are responsive. These are excellent signs." She was writing something on a tablet, her fingers moving quickly. "I'm going to ask you some questions to assess your cognitive function. Do you remember your name?" I tried to speak again. This time a croak came out. Marcus Cole." "Excellent. Do you remember what year it is?" 2024. "Very good. Do you remember your wife's name?" And there it was. The first crack in the perfect white walls of that hospital room. "Jessica," I whispered. Where is Jessica?" Something flickered across Dr. Park's face. Something I couldn't quite read. Discomfort? Pity? "Your wife has been notified that you've regained consciousness. She'll be here soon." But her eyes didn't match her words. There was hesitation there. Maybe even concern. Over the next 3 hours, nurses came and went. They checked my vitals, adjusted my IV, helped me sip water through a straw. Each one smiled and said encouraging things. "You're doing great, Mr. Cole. Your recovery is remarkable. You gave everyone quite a scare." But Jessica didn't come. It was 4 p.m. when Dr. Park returned with a tablet in her hands and a police officer behind her. A woman in her early 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression. "Mr. Cole, this is Detective Sarah Mills from the Metro Police Department. She'd like to ask you a few questions about your accident, if you're feeling up to it." Accident. The word felt wrong somehow, but I couldn't quite grasp why. Detective Mills pulled up a chair beside my bed. "Mr. Cole, I know you've been through a lot, but I need you to tell me everything you remember about the day of the crash. Take your time." I closed my eyes, trying to push through the fog in my brain. "I was driving, coming home from the office. It was late, maybe 9 o'clock?" 9:15, according to the traffic cameras, Mills confirmed. "What else?" "The roads were empty. I was on Highway 47, approaching the turnoff for Riverside Drive." The memories were coming back slowly, like puzzle pieces floating to the surface of dark water. I remember looking at my phone. Just a glance. Jessica had texted me. What did the text say? I tried to remember. Something about dinner. She'd made dinner. She wanted to know when I'd be home. My throat tightened. I looked down for maybe 2 seconds to reply, and when I looked up, the image hit me like a punch. Headlights, bright, blinding headlights suddenly in my lane. The truck had swerved into my path so fast I didn't have time to react. "There was a truck," I said, my voice shaking. It crossed the center line, came right at me. I tried to swerve, but there wasn't time. We collided head-on. Detective Mills was writing everything down. The other driver fled the scene. We're still looking for him. Hit and run. The truck was stolen, abandoned 3 miles away, wiped clean. No prints, no evidence. Something cold settled in my stomach. Professional? Mills looked at me carefully. "What makes you say that?" I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because the thought forming in my mind was too terrible to speak out loud. "Mr. Cole, I need to ask you something directly." Mills leaned forward. "Can you think of anyone who might want to hurt you? Any business rivals, enemies, anyone who might benefit from your death?" My death. The words hung in the air between us. "I run a security systems company," I said slowly. "Cole Security Solutions. We install surveillance systems, alarm systems, for businesses and high-end residential properties. It's a competitive field, but nothing that would—" I trailed off. "Nothing that would justify attempted murder?" Mills finished. "What about your personal life? Any problems at home? Financial stress? Marital issues?" "No," I said automatically. "Jessica and I have been married for 18 years. We're fine. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. Were we fine? When was the last time we'd really talked? Really connected? Mills exchanged a glance with Dr. Park. "Mr. Cole, there's something else we need to discuss. It's about your wife." My heart rate monitor started beeping faster. Dr. Park moved to adjust something on the machine, her face carefully neutral. "What about Jessica?" My voice came out sharper than I intended. Mills pulled out her phone and showed me a photograph. It was a bank statement. My bank statement. The joint savings account Jessica and I had built together over 18 years of marriage. Balance, $47.32. I stared at the number, not understanding. That can't be right. There should be over $2 million in that account." "There was," Mills said quietly, "until 3 days after your accident." The room started spinning. "What?" "Your wife made multiple large withdrawals. First, $500,000 in cash. Then several wire transfers totaling $1.6 million to various offshore accounts. She cleaned out everything. Every savings account, every investment portfolio she had access to. In total, $2.1 million. I couldn't breathe. The machines around me started beeping louder. Dr. Park was at my side immediately. "Marcus, I need you to stay calm. Your blood pressure is spiking. Breathe slowly." But I couldn't be calm, because the pieces were falling into place now. The text message that made me look at my phone. The truck that came out of nowhere. Jessica's absence from the hospital. "Where is she?" I asked through gritted teeth. "Where is my wife?" Mills hesitated. "We don't know. She's been missing for 6 days. Her phone is off. Her credit cards haven't been used. She's gone. And the money? Also gone. Transferred through multiple accounts in different countries. The Cayman Islands, Switzerland, Singapore. We're working with international authorities. But to be honest, Mr. Cole, the chances of recovery are slim." I lay back against the pillows, my mind reeling. Jessica. My wife of 18 years. The woman I'd built a life with. The woman I'd trusted with everything. She'd tried to have me killed. And when that didn't work, she'd taken everything and run. "Mr. Cole," Mills said gently, "is there anything else you can tell us? Anything unusual in the weeks before the accident? Any strange behavior from your wife?" I started to shake my head, then stopped, because there had been something, small things I'd dismissed at the time. "She'd been going to the gym a lot," I said slowly. 3-4 times a week. She said she wanted to get in shape, and she'd been on her phone constantly, always texting, always secretive about it. She'd leave the room to take calls." "Did you ever see who she was texting?" "No. She always kept her phone face down. Always." I laughed bitterly. "I thought she was planning a surprise for our anniversary. It's next month." Or it would have been. Mills wrote something down. "Anything else?" "Money," I said suddenly, remembering. She'd been asking about money. How much we had saved. How much the business was worth. What would happen to it if something happened to me? My throat tightened. I thought she was being practical, planning for our future, our retirement. "She was planning," Mills said grimly. "Just not the future you thought." Dr. Park had been silent throughout this conversation, but now she spoke up. "Detective, Mr. Cole needs rest. This has been extremely traumatic news on top of his physical trauma. We should continue this later." Mills nodded and stood. "Mr. Cole, I'll be in touch. In the meantime, if you remember anything else, anything at all, call me immediately." She handed me a card. After she left, I lay in that hospital bed, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing. Everything I thought I knew about my life had been a lie. The woman I'd loved, trusted, built a life with had betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible. But as I lay there, something else started to crystallize in my mind. Something that made my lips curve into a smile despite everything. Jessica had made one critical mistake. She didn't know about the cameras. You see, when you own a security company, you tend to be paranoid about security. And 3 years ago, after a series of break-ins in our neighborhood, I'd upgraded our home security system. State-of-the-art. Cameras in every room except the bathrooms. Motion sensors. Voice-activated recording. All backed up to a secure cloud server that Jessica didn't know existed. I'd installed it myself, worked on it for weeks, made sure everything was perfect. Jessica had known about the obvious cameras, the doorbell camera, the ones in the garage and front entrance. Those were for show, for burglars. But the others? The ones hidden in smoke detectors, in picture frames, in the corner of bookshelves. Those she'd never suspected. Why would she? She trusted me, just like I'd trusted her. And if she'd been planning this, if she'd had an accomplice, if there had been conversations in our house about stealing my money, about the accident that wasn't an accident, those cameras would have recorded everything. My heart rate spiked again, but this time it wasn't from shock or pain. It was anticipation. Because I realized something else. My business partner, David Chen, had remote access to our security systems for maintenance purposes. If I could contact David, have him pull the footage from the weeks before the accident. "Dr. Park," I called out. She appeared in the doorway immediately. "Yes, Marcus, are you in pain?" "I need my phone, or a phone. I need to make a call. It's urgent." She frowned. "Marcus, you should be resting." "Please," I said, and something in my voice must have convinced her because she nodded. "One call, 5 minutes, then you rest." She brought me a hospital phone, helped me dial David's number. He answered on the second ring. "Marcus, oh my God, man, we heard you woke up. How are you feeling?" "David, I need you to listen carefully. Don't say anything to anyone about this call. Can you do that? There was a pause. Then, cautiously, yeah, what's going on? I need you to access the home security footage, my house, starting 3 weeks before the accident. Every single frame. Download it all to a secure drive. Don't watch it. Don't share it. Just secure it. Can you do that? Marcus, that's going to be hundreds of hours of footage. What am I looking for? Evidence, I said simply. Evidence that my wife tried to kill me. Another pause. Longer this time. Jesus, Marcus, are you serious? Completely serious. The police will want it, but I want to see it first. I want to know exactly what I'm dealing with before I hand it over. Consider it done. I'll have it ready by tomorrow morning. Thank you, David. And David, not a word to anyone, especially not Jessica, if she contacts you. She won't, David said grimly. She cleaned out the company account she had access to, too, the payroll account, $450,000. We nearly couldn't make last week's payments. I had to cover it from my personal savings. My hand tightened on the phone. She what? She had signing authority as your spouse for the payroll account. Emergency access, remember? In case something happened to you. She used it 3 days after your accident. Drained it completely. I've been trying to track her down, but... He trailed off. Marcus, I'm sorry. I should have called the police immediately. But I thought maybe there was an explanation. Maybe she needed it for medical expenses or something. It's not your fault, I said, though my jaw was clenched so tight it ached. She fooled both of us. But David, this is good. This proves intent. She didn't just take personal savings. She took business funds. That's a federal crime. The FBI will get involved. Already have, David said. Detective Mills contacted us yesterday. They're building a case. Good. Get me that footage. And David, when you look at it, prepare yourself. I don't think we're going to like what we see. After I hung up, I lay back against the pillows, my mind working through everything I knew. Jessica had been planning this for weeks, maybe months. She'd found someone to help her, someone to stage the accident. She'd positioned herself to access every account, every fund she could reach, and she'd almost succeeded. Almost. But she'd underestimated me. Underestimated my paranoia, my need for security, my professional obsession with surveillance. And that mistake was going to cost her everything. Dr. Park came back in. That's enough excitement for today, Marcus. You need rest. Real rest. Your brain is still healing. I'll rest, I promised, but I need you to do me a favor. She raised an eyebrow. Another favor? Tomorrow, when my business partner brings me a hard drive, I need access to a laptop. One with a secure connection and privacy. Complete privacy for a few hours. Dr. Park studied me for a long moment. This is about your wife. Yes. The police should handle it. They will. But I need to see it first. I need to know. Can you understand that? She was silent for a moment, then nodded slowly. I'll see what I can do. But Marcus, be prepared. Whatever is on that footage, it might be worse than you imagine. I know, I said quietly. But I have to see it. I have to know the truth. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jessica's face. The way she'd smiled at me over breakfast the morning of the accident. The way she'd kissed me goodbye when I left for work. Had it all been a lie? Had there been any truth in our 18 years together? Or had I been living with a stranger all along? And who was the man? Because there had to be a man. Jessica wouldn't have done this alone. She would have needed help, someone to stage the accident, someone to help her plan, someone to run away with. The thought of another man touching my wife, plotting with her to end my life, stealing my money, made something dark and cold settle in my chest. A feeling I'd never experienced before. Not quite rage, not quite hatred. Something worse, something calculating. Because here's what Jessica didn't understand about me. I'd spent my entire adult life protecting things. Homes, businesses, people. I knew how criminals thought. I knew how they planned. I knew their weaknesses, their mistakes, and I was very, very good at finding evidence. By the time the sun rose over Seattle the next morning, painting the hospital room in shades of gold and pink, I'd made my decision. I wasn't going to just let the police handle this. I wasn't going to be a passive victim while Jessica and her accomplice lived off my money in some tropical paradise. I was going to find them. I was going to expose them. And I was going to make sure they paid for every single thing they'd done. Dr. Park came in at 8 o'clock with breakfast and a laptop. "You have 3 hours," she said quietly, setting the computer on my tray table. "After that, you need to rest. Doctor's orders." 3 hours is enough," I said. David arrived at 9 with a portable hard drive disguised in a case of Get Well chocolates. Smart. We made small talk for the nurse's benefit, discussed business matters, avoided anything suspicious. When he left, the hard drive stayed behind, hidden under my pillow. As soon as the door closed and I was alone, I plugged it in with shaking hands. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. This was it, the truth. Whatever had really happened in my house in the weeks before someone tried to kill me, the hard drive had hundreds of files. David had organized them by date and location: master bedroom, living room, kitchen, home office, garage. I started with 3 weeks before the accident. Master bedroom, 11 p.m. Jessica and I getting ready for bed. Nothing unusual. We talked about mundane things: her gym routine, my upcoming business trip to Portland, whether we needed to hire a gardener for the yard. Normal. Everything looked normal. I fast-forwarded, skipping through hours of footage. Days passed on the screen. Jessica sleeping, Jessica getting dressed, Jessica on her phone, me leaving for work, me coming home. Then, 2 weeks before the accident, something changed. Jessica was on her phone in the kitchen, and from the way she was smiling, the way she kept touching her hair, the way she giggled. That wasn't a conversation with a girlfriend. That was flirting. I turned up the volume, but her voice was too quiet to make out words. Frustrated, I switched to a different camera. The one in the living room had better audio pickup. 3 days later, Jessica was there, talking on her phone, and this time I could hear every word. "I miss you too," she was saying, her voice soft and intimate. "I know, baby. I know it's hard, but it won't be much longer. Everything is almost ready." Baby. She'd called someone else. Baby. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the laptop. "The money," she continued. "It's all arranged. I have access to everything. The accounts, the business funds, everything. As soon as it happens, I can move it all offshore. 48 hours, maybe less. As soon as it happens. As soon as what happens? As soon as I died." She laughed then, and the sound made my blood run cold. "No, he doesn't suspect a thing. He's so trusting. It's almost sad, really. He thinks we're this perfect couple planning our retirement." Another laugh. "He has no idea what's coming." I had to stop the video, had to breathe, had to process what I was hearing. This was my wife, the woman I'd spent 18 years with, the woman I'd built a life with, and she was planning my murder. After a few minutes, I forced myself to keep watching. I needed to see it all, needed to know everything. The next relevant footage came from a week before the accident. Jessica was in the home office, going through financial documents. My financial documents. She was photographing them with her phone, one after another. Account numbers, investment portfolios, life insurance policies. She was preparing, cataloging everything she was going to steal. And then, 5 days before the accident, I saw him. A man appeared in my living room on the security footage. Tall, maybe 6'2", athletic build, dark hair styled with that careful casualness that takes 20 minutes to achieve. He wore expensive workout clothes, the kind you see at high-end gyms where memberships cost more than most people's car payments. He walked into my house like he owned it. Jessica met him at the door with a kiss that made me want to throw the laptop across the room. Not a quick peck. A deep, hungry kiss that spoke of familiarity and passion. His hands were on her waist, pulling her close, and she melted into him like they'd done this 1,000 times before. They probably had. I forced myself to keep watching, to see it all, to know everything. "Baby," Jessica said, pulling back slightly. "Marcus won't be back for hours. He's in Portland until tomorrow night." Portland. I remembered that trip. A security consultation for a tech startup. I'd been excited about the contract, called Jessica from the airport to tell her about it. She'd sounded happy for me. She'd been happy because it meant she had 24 hours alone with him. "Good," the man said, and his voice was deep, confident. "Because we need to finalize everything. The timing has to be perfect, Jess." They moved to the living room couch. My couch. The one Jessica and I had picked out together 3 years ago after spending an entire Saturday furniture shopping. She'd made me sit on 20 different couches before choosing this one because it was just right. And now she was sitting on it with another man, planning my murder. The man pulled out a folder from his gym bag. "Okay, so I've been watching his patterns for the last 3 weeks. Every Tuesday and Thursday, he drives home from the office around 9 p.m. Same route every time. Highway 47 to Riverside Drive. The stretch between mile markers 14 and 16 is perfect. No traffic cameras, limited visibility, trees on both sides." Jessica was leaning forward, focused. "And you're sure you can make it look like an accident?" "Completely sure. I've done this before." My blood ran cold. He'd done this before. This wasn't his first time staging a murder to look like an accident. "The truck I'm using is already stolen," he continued. "I'll hit him head-on at full speed. The impact should be fatal, but even if it's not, the truck will catch fire. Either way..." He made a gesture like washing his hands. "Problem solved." "And you'll be clear?" Jessica asked. "No connection to you?" "None. I'll abandon the truck 3 miles away. It'll burn. Any evidence will be destroyed. I'll be back at my apartment with a dozen witnesses who'll swear I was at the gym all night. Perfect alibi." Jessica nodded slowly. "And the money?" "That's where you come in." He spread papers across the coffee table. "These are the account numbers you gave me. The day after the accident, you start making withdrawals. Small ones at first, nothing that raises flags. Then, once we're sure he's..." Another casual gesture toward death. "We move everything offshore. I have people in the Cayman Islands who can make it disappear. By the time anyone realizes what's happening, we'll be gone." "How much total?" Jessica's voice was businesslike now, calculating. Between his personal accounts, the joint savings, the business accounts you have access to, and the life insurance, we're looking at close to $4 million. $4 million, not the $2.1 million Detective Mills had mentioned. They'd been planning to steal even more. Jessica smiled, the same smile she'd given me on our wedding day. And we're sure no one will be able to trace it? Positive. I've done this 3 times before. The money goes through so many accounts in so many countries, it's impossible to follow. By the time any investigation gets started, we'll be living in Costa Rica under new names, completely untraceable. 3 times. This man had murdered 3 people for money, and my wife had hired him to make me number 4. What about Marcus's business partner? Jessica asked. David Chen. He'll know something's wrong when the money moves. Let him know. By the time he figures it out, you'll be long gone. File it as emergency medical expenses, family crisis, whatever. You're the grieving widow. No one's going to question you immediately. We just need 48 hours. That's all. Jessica stood up and walked to the window. My window, looking out at the garden I'd planted, the oak tree I'd nursed from a sapling. I almost feel bad, she said quietly. Marcus is a good man. He's never hurt me, never cheated. He works hard, provides everything I could want. Hope flickered in my chest for just a moment. Maybe she would back out. Maybe there was still something human in her. Then she turned around with that smile, and the hope died. But good men are boring, she said, and I'm tired of being married to boring. I want excitement. I want passion. I want to live, not just exist. And Marcus, bless his predictable heart, is worth more dead than alive. Ryan laughed and pulled her onto his lap. That's my girl, cold-blooded and beautiful. They kissed again, and I had to pause the video. Had to breathe. Had to process the fact that the woman I loved didn't just want me dead for money. She wanted me dead because I was boring. Because 18 years of marriage, of building a life together, of quiet evenings and Sunday mornings, and all those small moments that make up a relationship, to her, that was worthless. I was worthless. No, not worthless. That's what she wanted me to believe. But I knew the truth now. I knew what she was. And knowledge is power. I took a breath and kept watching. The footage from the next few days was more of the same. Ryan coming to the house whenever I was at work. Them going over plans, discussing details, rehearsing her grieving widow act. At one point, she actually practiced crying in the mirror. Working, on which expression looked most authentic. She was very good at it. 3 days before the accident, they had their final meeting. This time, Ryan brought something that made my stomach turn. A burner phone. This is for after, he explained. Once he's dead, we communicate only through this, untraceable. We coordinate the money transfers, arrange the flights, everything. Your regular phone stays clean. You act like the devastated wife. You cry at the hospital. You talk to the police. You play the role perfectly. Understood? Understood, Jessica said. When do we leave? 2 weeks after. Any sooner looks suspicious. You need to arrange the funeral, deal with his business partners, play the grieving widow for the cameras. Then you tell everyone you need time alone to process, maybe visit your sister in Arizona. But instead of Arizona, you fly to Mexico City. I'll meet you there with the money. From Mexico City, we go to Costa Rica. New identities, new life. New life, Jessica repeated, and she was smiling. Actually smiling at the thought of my death. The day before the accident, I watched myself on camera, completely oblivious. I came home from work, kissed Jessica hello, asked about her day. She smiled and said it was fine, asked about mine. We had dinner together, pasta, I think. We watched a movie, some comedy she'd picked out. We went to bed. And the entire time, she knew that in 24 hours, I'd be dead. Knew that she'd hired someone to kill me. Knew that she'd be sleeping next to my corpse of a marriage one last time before cashing in. How did she do it? How did she lie in bed next to me, feel my arm around her, hear me say, "I love you," before falling asleep, and not feel anything? The footage from the day of the accident showed her in the kitchen, preparing that dinner she'd texted me about. She was humming. Actually humming like she was happy. At one point, she pulled out her phone and sent a text. Probably to me. Probably the text that made me look away from the road at exactly the wrong moment. After she sent it, she poured herself a glass of wine and raised it to her reflection in the kitchen window. "To freedom," she said. Then she drank. I had to stop watching, had to close the laptop, had to sit there in that hospital bed with machines beeping around me and process what I'd just seen. The woman I'd married, the woman I'd trusted with my life, had toasted to my death with a glass of wine in our kitchen. Dr. Park knocked and entered. "Marcus, your 3 hours are up. How are you feeling?" How was I feeling? Betrayed, enraged, heartbroken, murderous. Take your pick. "I'm fine," I said. My voice sounded dead, even to my own ears. She looked at me carefully. "You don't look fine. What was on that drive?" "Confirmation," I said. "Everything Detective Mills suspected was correct. My wife planned to have me killed. I have video evidence, audio, everything." Dr. Park sat down heavily in the chair beside my bed. "My God. Marcus, I'm so sorry." "Don't be sorry. Be helpful. I need you to contact Detective Mills. Tell her I have evidence, critical evidence, and I paused, thinking. "I need a lawyer, a good one, someone who specializes in fraud and conspiracy." "I'll make the calls," Dr. Park said. "But Marcus, you need to rest. Your brain is still healing. This kind of stress could what? Kill me?" I laughed bitterly. "Someone already tried that. I survived, and now I'm going to make sure they pay for it." Detective Mills arrived 2 hours later with an FBI agent named Marcus Foster. Appropriate name, I thought grimly. They set up in a private conference room the hospital provided, and I showed them everything, every frame of footage, every conversation, every damning piece of evidence. Mills's face got harder with each video clip. Agent Foster took notes, his expression unreadable. "Mr. Cole," Foster said when I'd finished, "this is possibly the most comprehensive evidence package I've ever seen in a conspiracy case. You've handed us a case so airtight, a first-year prosecutor could win it." "Good," I said, "because I want them buried, both of them." "Do you know who the male subject is?" Mills asked. "Not yet, but he's a personal trainer. He mentioned a gym. Jessica started going to a gym about 6 months ago, Elite Fitness on Harbor Boulevard. I'd bet anything that's where they met." Mills was already on her phone. "I'll have someone check their membership records, get security footage from the gym. If he's a trainer there, we'll have his full name and address within hours." "He said he'd done this before," I reminded them. 3 times. That means 3 other murders staged as accidents. You need to check unsolved accident cases with suspicious life insurance payouts. He's probably been doing this for years." Foster nodded grimly. "We'll run it through our database, see if we can connect any dots. Mr. Cole, I'm going to be honest with you. The fact that your wife disappeared suggests she knows something went wrong. Either she figured out you survived and panicked, or her partner told her to run early. Or, I said slowly, she thinks I'm still in a coma, and she's executing the plan exactly as they discussed, taking the money and running. Mills frowned. But you've been awake for 2 days now. Surely she would have checked, called the hospital. Why would she? I countered. She's playing the devastated wife, remember. Too grief-stricken to visit, too traumatized. She's probably told everyone she can't bear to see me like this. And meanwhile, she's counting my money and planning her escape. Then we have an advantage, Foster said. She doesn't know we're onto her. She doesn't know you're awake and talking. She doesn't know about the footage. An idea was forming in my mind, a dark, satisfying idea. What if we kept it that way? They both looked at me. What if we let her think the plan worked? I continued, speaking faster now as the pieces fell into place. What if we announce that I died, feed it to the media, put out a death certificate, let her think she won? Mills was shaking her head. Mr. Cole, we can't fake your death. Why not? I interrupted. You want to catch her, right? You want her to come back? Because right now, she could be anywhere. Any country, any city. She has $2 million and a fake identity. You could search for years and never find her. He's right, Foster said slowly. If we announce the death, she'll come back. She'll need to file insurance claims, settle the estate, maintain the Grieving Widow Act. She'll have to be visible. And when she does, I said, we grab her, in front of everyone, her friends, her family, the media. We let everyone see what she really is. Mills was quiet for a long moment, then she pulled out her phone. I need to make some calls. This will require approval from my captain, from the FBI, from the DA's office. It's highly irregular. But effective, Foster added. He looked at me with something like respect. Mr. Cole, you're thinking like an investigator. Have you ever considered a career change? Despite everything, I almost smiled. I'll stick with security systems, but I'm glad my paranoia is finally paying off. Over the next 3 days, they put the plan in motion. The hospital staff was briefed. Only essential personnel knew I was alive. To everyone else, Marcus Cole had succumbed to his injuries, brain swelling, complications from the trauma. The hospital released a statement. My death was reported in the local news. David Chen called me, crying. I hated lying to my best friend, but Mills insisted the fewer people who knew, the better. We needed Jessica to believe completely. One person letting something slip could ruin everything. I'm so sorry, Marcus, David said through his tears. I should have done more, should have seen what was happening. It's not your fault, I told him, feeling like the worst friend in the world. None of this is your fault. What I wanted to say was, I'm alive, I'm fine, and we're going to get her. But I couldn't, not yet. The hardest call was to my sister, Rachel, in Boston. She'd been trying to visit, but I'd told her through David that it was too painful, that I needed space. Another lie. Another person hurt by Jessica's betrayal. But it was working. Mills confirmed that they'd detected activity on one of the offshore accounts. Small movements of money, testing the waters. Jessica was starting to move the stolen funds. She's getting ready to run, Mills told me on day 4. We tracked her to a hotel in Vancouver. She's using a fake credit card, but our FBI contacts in Canada confirmed it's her. She's dyeing her hair, bought new clothes, trying to change her appearance. Is she alone? No. There's a man with her. We ran facial recognition on hotel security footage. His name is Ryan Stanton, former Army, dishonorably discharged for assault. He's worked as a personal trainer for the last 8 years, moved around a lot. And here's the interesting part. 3 of his previous clients died in accidents. All 3 had large life insurance policies. All 3 had wives who disappeared shortly after with significant sums of money. So it was a pattern, a business model. Ryan found wealthy, unhappy clients, seduced them, convinced them to kill their spouses, then helped them disappear with the money. He probably took a percentage, clean, efficient, repeatable. Except this time, he'd made a mistake. This time, he'd targeted someone with cameras. "When are you moving on them?" I asked. "Soon. We're coordinating with Canadian authorities. But, Mr. Cole, we need you to do something." "What?" Mills pulled out a folder. "We need you to die more publicly. We need an obituary, a funeral announcement, something she'll see that will make her believe it's safe to come back." "A funeral," I repeated. The word tasted bitter. "We've already drafted the obituary. Your sister submitted it to the Seattle Times. It'll run tomorrow. Funeral scheduled for 5 days from now at Green Meadows Memorial Park. Very public, very official." I read the obituary they'd written. It was strange seeing my life summarized in neat paragraphs. Beloved husband. That was a joke. Successful businessman. True. Devoted friend. I hope so. Marcus Cole is survived by his wife, Jessica Cole, his sister Rachel Cole of Boston, and his business partner David Chen. Survived by his wife. If they only knew. "Do you think she'll come?" I asked. "I think she has to," Foster said. "She's already moved over $1 million, but there's still more. The life insurance hasn't paid out yet. Your business assets haven't been settled. The house is still in both your names. She can't access any of it without being here, without playing the widow, without making it all official." "Greed," I said softly. "She could leave with what she has, but she wants it all." "They always do," Mills said. That night, alone in my hospital room, I read the obituary again. Marcus Cole, 52, died from injuries sustained in a tragic car accident. He was preceded in death by his parents. He is survived by his wife, Jessica. Such simple words for such a complicated lie. But lies have a way of revealing truth. And this lie was going to reveal exactly what Jessica Cole really was. A murderer, a thief, and a fool, who underestimated the one thing she should have remembered. I built my career on catching criminals, and I was very, very good at my job. Dr. Park came in with my evening medication. "How are you feeling? And I mean really feeling, not the brave face you show everyone." I considered the question. Honestly, I feel clear. For the first time in months, maybe years, I feel like I can see everything clearly. My marriage was dying, Dr. Park. I just didn't want to admit it. I worked long hours, buried myself in the business, told myself everything was fine. But it wasn't. And instead of talking to me, instead of divorce or counseling or any normal solution, she decided murder was easier. "That's not a normal response to marital problems," Dr. Park said gently. "No," I agreed. "It's not, which means she's not normal. She's something else, something cold. And I married her, lived with her for 18 years. How did I not see it? Because you loved her, love makes us blind to flaws we'd spot in anyone else. Well, I see clearly now, and I'm going to make sure everyone else does too." She patted my hand. "Just don't let revenge consume you, Marcus. You've survived something terrible. Don't let it turn you into something terrible, too. I thought about that after she left. Was this revenge? Or was it justice? Was there even a difference? I decided it didn't matter. Whatever it was called, Jessica and Ryan were going to face it. In 5 days, at a funeral for a man who wasn't dead, I was going to watch them fall into a trap of their own making, and I was going to enjoy every minute of it. The next morning, my obituary ran in the Seattle Times. Detective Mills called to confirm that Jessica had purchased a plane ticket from Vancouver to Seattle. She was coming home. We'll have surveillance on her from the moment she lands, Mills said. Cameras, plainclothes officers, the works. If she so much as jaywalks, we'll know about it. And Ryan? He's coming too. Bought his ticket under a fake name, but facial recognition caught him at the Vancouver airport. They're flying in separately, but on the same day, probably trying to look less suspicious. When do they arrive? Tomorrow, both of them, just in time to mourn you appropriately. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Perfect. That evening, David visited under the pretense of handling my estate. He was one of the few people cleared to know I was alive. Man, this is so weird, he said, sitting in the chair beside my bed. You're dead, but not dead. Jessica's coming back, but she's a murderer. I feel like I'm in a bad movie. Join the club, I said. But David, I need to ask you something. In all the time you knew Jessica, did you ever suspect, ever see any signs? He was quiet for a long moment. Honestly, there were a couple times I thought she seemed cold, like when your mom died. You were devastated, and Jessica, she went through all the motions, said all the right things, but it was like she was reading from a script. No real emotion. I mentioned it to Sarah once, and she said I was being unfair, that people grieve differently. Sarah never liked Jessica, I remembered. David's wife had always been polite, but distant with Jessica. No, she didn't. She said she couldn't put her finger on why, just that something felt off. Women's intuition, I guess. He paused. Marcus, what are you going to do? After this is all over? After she's arrested and convicted and everything? I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to burn everything down. Sell the house, sell the business, move to another state, start completely over. Forget this life ever existed. And the other part? The other part wants to stay, to rebuild, to prove that she didn't destroy me, that I'm stronger than her betrayal, that I can take the life she tried to steal and make it better than it ever was. David nodded slowly. For what it's worth, I vote for option 2. Don't let her win, man. Don't let her take your life from you twice. He was right. Jessica had already taken so much. My trust, my peace, my belief in love and marriage and partnership. But she hadn't taken my life. I'd survived. And that meant I got to decide what came next. And what came next was justice. Jessica's plane landed at SeaTac Airport at 3:47 p.m. on a gray Tuesday afternoon. I watched it happen in real time from my hospital room on Detective Mills's laptop, connected to the surveillance team's feed. She looked different. Her normally blonde hair was now a dark brown, cut shorter, styled differently. She wore oversized sunglasses despite the overcast weather and carried a single black suitcase. The outfit was perfect: black dress, modest heels, minimal jewelry. The grieving widow, dressed for mourning. She was very good at this. Target acquired. Mills's voice came through the laptop speakers. Team 2, do you have visual? Confirmed, another voice responded. She's heading to baggage claim. No contact with anyone so far. I watched Jessica move through the airport like a ghost. Her shoulders were slumped, her movements slow and deliberate. At one point, she stopped at a coffee shop, and I could see her wipe at her eyes with a tissue, crying, or pretending to cry. With Jessica, it was impossible to tell the difference anymore. "Ryan Stanton's plane lands in 40 minutes, Mills said from beside me. "Different airline, different terminal. Smart." "Not smart enough," I said. "They're still both coming back. That's the mistake." "Greed makes people stupid," Agent Foster added. He was on the other side of the bed, also watching the feed. "She's already stolen over $2 million. She could disappear forever. But she wants more. The life insurance alone is another $1.8 million. The house is worth at least $1 million. Your business assets, retirement accounts, everything. She's looking at another $3 million if she plays this right." "She won't play it right," I said quietly, "because she doesn't know the game has changed." Jessica took a taxi to our house. My house, the one we'd bought together 12 years ago when the business first started making real money. Colonial style, 4 bedrooms, 2 acres of land. I'd loved that house, had planned to grow old there. The surveillance team had beaten her there, set up cameras in the trees across the street, in the house next door that belonged to a retired couple who were conveniently visiting their daughter for the week. Every angle covered, every moment recorded. I watched Jessica unlock the front door and step inside, watched her put down her suitcase in the entryway, watched her walk through each room slowly, touching things. My things. Our things. In the master bedroom, she stood in front of the mirror for a long time. Then, when she thought she was alone, when she believed no one was watching, she smiled. Not a sad smile, not a grieving widow's smile, a satisfied smile, a victorious smile. "Got it," Mills said grimly. "That footage alone shows consciousness of guilt. No innocent widow smiles like that." But Jessica wasn't done. She went to the closet and pulled out one of my suits, the navy one I'd worn to David's wedding last year. She held it up, looked at it, then carefully put it back. "She's picking out what you'll wear," Foster said, "for the funeral." The thought made my skin crawl. Jessica choosing my funeral outfit, planning every detail of the service, playing the devastated wife while counting my money. Over the next hour, I watched her make phone calls. First to a funeral home, asking about arrangements in a voice that trembled perfectly. Then to my sister Rachel, sobbing about how sorry she was, how she should have been there, how she couldn't believe Marcus was gone. Rachel, who didn't know I was alive, cried with her, actually comforted her. My sister, my blood, consoling the woman who'd tried to have me murdered. I had to look away. "This is harder than I thought it would be," I admitted to Dr. Park, who'd been checking my vitals during all of this. Watching her lie, watching people believe her. "It will be worth it," Dr. Park said. "When the truth comes out, everyone will see what she really is." Ryan Stanton landed 45 minutes later. He'd also changed his appearance, shaved his head, grew a beard, wore glasses. He took a rental car from the airport and drove to a motel on the outskirts of the city. Nothing fancy, the kind of place that takes cash and doesn't ask questions. "He's being careful," Mills observed, "not going straight to the house, maintaining distance." "But they'll need to meet," Foster said, "to coordinate. They can't risk phone calls or texts. Too easy to trace. They'll have to meet in person." He was right. At 11 p.m. that night, Jessica left the house, told Rachel on the phone that she needed air, needed to drive, couldn't sleep. She drove to a 24-hour diner 15 miles away. Ryan was already there, sitting in a back booth. "All units, targets are meeting," Mills's voice crackled. "Audio team, are you picking this up?" Affirmative, crystal clear. I leaned forward, watching the laptop screen, watching my wife sit across from her lover in a cheap diner booth, both of them thinking they'd gotten away with murder. "You did it," Ryan said, his voice slightly distorted through the surveillance equipment, but clear enough. "I saw the news. Marcus Cole, dead from his injuries. The perfect accident." "It worked exactly like you said it would," Jessica replied. She was drinking coffee, her hands wrapped around the mug. "The funeral is in 4 days. I've already started the insurance paperwork. Once the death certificate is official, we can move the rest of the money." "How much more are we talking?" "At least $3 million, maybe more if I can liquidate some of his business assets quickly." Ryan whistled low. $5 million total. Not bad for a month's work. Not bad at all. Jessica was smiling again. That same satisfied smile. "You know what the best part is? Everyone feels sorry for me. Rachel, David, all our friends. They're all rallying around me, offering support. No one suspects a thing." "Why would they?" Ryan reached across the table and took her hand. "You're the perfect grieving widow. You've been practicing for weeks. This is your Oscar-winning performance, baby." She laughed. Actually laughed. "I should thank Marcus, really. All those years of being married to such a predictable, boring man. It made me a very good actress. I learned to fake emotions so well." Something dark and cold settled in my chest. All those years. All those moments I'd thought were real. Anniversary dinners, quiet Sunday mornings. The time she cried when we lost our first pregnancy. Had any of it been real? Or had I been living with a stranger for 18 years? "When do we leave?" Ryan asked. "A week after the funeral. I'll tell everyone I need time alone, that I'm going to stay with my cousin in Denver. But instead, I'll meet you in Mexico City like we planned. New identities, new life." "New life," Ryan echoed. "I've got the passports ready. Jessica Martin and Ryan Foster, married couple from Oregon. Clean backgrounds, complete documentation. We'll be untraceable." They talked for another 20 minutes, going over details, discussing the money transfers, planning their escape. The entire conversation was recorded. Every word, every incriminating detail. "We have enough," Mills said when Jessica finally left the diner. "With this plus the home surveillance footage, we could arrest them right now." "No," I said immediately. "We stick to the plan. We let them get comfortable. Let them think they've won. Then we take them down in front of everyone." Foster looked at me carefully. "You want the public humiliation, the exposure." "I want people to see the truth," I corrected. "Jessica has been playing the victim, the devoted wife. People feel sorry for her. When we arrest her quietly, she'll spin it somehow. She'll claim I was abusive, or she was coerced, or something. She'll try to manipulate the narrative. But if we expose her at the funeral, in front of everyone who knows us, there's no spinning that. Everyone will see exactly what she is." Mills was quiet for a moment, then nodded. "Okay. We continue surveillance. Let her play out the rope. But Marcus, if anything goes wrong, if they try to run early, we move immediately." Understood. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. I watched from my hospital room as Jessica played the grieving widow perfectly. She met with the funeral director, chose flowers, selected readings for the service. She went through my belongings with Rachel, both of them crying as they looked at old photos. Except Rachel's tears were real. Jessica's were performance art. She met with David to discuss the business, sat in my office, in my chair, and talked about selling my share, liquidating assets, moving on. David, who still didn't know I was alive, looked devastated, looked guilty, like he'd failed me somehow. "This is killing him," I said to Mills. "Can't I tell David? Just David?" "Too risky," Mills said firmly. "The more people who know, the greater the chance of a leak. We're less than 48 hours from the funeral. Stay strong." She visited Ryan 3 more times at his motel. Each time, the surveillance team recorded everything. They were getting careless now, confident. At one point, they were actually counting money. Stacks of cash spread across the motel bed, both of them laughing as they organized it. "Almost 5 million, Jessica said, running her hands through a stack of hundreds. "Can you believe it? We actually did it." "I told you it would work," Ryan said. "It always works. Find an unhappy wife, seduce her, convince her the husband is the problem, stage an accident, take the money. I've been running this con for 6 years. You're just the biggest payday." "What happened to the other women?" Jessica asked. "The other wives?" Ryan shrugged. "Who cares? Once I have my cut, I disappear. New city, new identity, new mark. They probably got caught eventually. Not my problem." Jessica looked at him for a long moment. "What makes you think I won't disappear on you? Take all the money and run?" "Because you need me," Ryan said confidently. "You need my contacts, my fake documents, my expertise. Without me, you're just a widow with too much money and too many questions. With me, you're untraceable." She smiled. "I suppose you're right." But I could see it in her eyes. She was already thinking about it, already planning how to cut Ryan out. Maybe she'd learned from the master. Maybe she'd become just as cold and calculating as he was. They deserved each other. The day before the funeral, Dr. Park cleared me to leave the hospital. "Medically speaking, you're healing well. But Marcus, are you sure about this? Attending your own funeral? The psychological impact?" "I'm sure," I said. I'd been doing physical therapy in secret, regaining my strength, making sure I could stand, walk, present myself when the moment came. "This ends tomorrow, one way or another." That night, I stayed in a safe house the FBI had arranged, a small apartment across the city, guarded by 2 agents. I couldn't sleep, kept thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Jessica and I meeting at a friend's party 20 years ago. Our first date, the proposal, the wedding. Had she ever loved me? Or had I just been a mark from the beginning? A security company owner with money and predictable habits. Easy target, patient predator. I'd never know. And maybe that was the hardest part. Not the betrayal itself, but the uncertainty. The questioning of every memory, every moment, every year we'd spent together. My phone buzzed. A text from Mills. "Everything is set. Jessica arrived at the funeral home an hour ago to finalize arrangements. She's playing her role perfectly. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., we end this." Tomorrow at 2 p.m. My funeral. The moment of truth. I tried to picture it. The funeral home filled with people. Flowers everywhere. My casket at the front. Except the casket would be empty, and I would be in the back, watching, waiting for the perfect moment. The FBI had arranged everything. My body had been released to the funeral home. Death certificate signed by a cooperative medical examiner who was in on the plan. Even the funeral director knew the truth. Everyone was playing their part in this elaborate trap, and Jessica had no idea. I must have fallen asleep eventually, because I woke to sunlight streaming through the apartment windows and Agent Foster making coffee in the kitchen. "Big day," he said when he saw me. "How are you feeling?" "Like I'm about to attend my own funeral." "Well, when you put it that way." He poured me a cup of coffee. "Marcus, I've been doing this job for 15 years. I've seen a lot of betrayals, a lot of schemes, a lot of criminals. But this case, this is something else. The level of planning, the cold-bloodedness, the complete lack of remorse. Jessica Cole is one of the most dangerous people I've encountered, not because she's violent, but because she's so convincing. She could look you in the eye, tell you she loves you, and be planning your murder. That's sociopathic behavior." "I know," I said quietly. "I lived with her for 18 years and never saw it." "Don't blame yourself. People like Jessica are experts at hiding who they really are. They study normal human emotion and mimic it perfectly. But it's all performance. There's nothing real underneath." At noon, Mills arrived with my clothes. A dark suit, white shirt, black tie. "You'll sit in the funeral director's office," she explained. "It has a one-way window overlooking the chapel. You'll be able to see everything, but no one will see you. When the time is right, when Jessica makes her move on the insurance paperwork or says something incriminating, we'll move in." "What if she doesn't?" I asked. "What if she plays it perfectly?" "She won't. People like Jessica can't help themselves. They need to feel superior, need to feel like they've won. At some point, she'll slip. She'll say something or do something that shows her true nature, and when she does, we'll be ready." The funeral was scheduled for 2 p.m. By 1:30, people were already arriving. I watched through the one-way window as they filed in. Friends from the business community, colleagues, neighbors, people I'd known for years, coming to mourn a man who wasn't dead. David arrived with his wife, Sarah. He looked awful. Eyes red, face drawn. He'd lost weight. This was destroying him. "After this is over," I told Mills, "David is the first person I'm calling. Before anyone else knows. He deserves that." Rachel came in, supported by her husband, Tom. My sister, who'd flown in from Boston, who'd rearranged her entire life to be here, who was crying into Tom's shoulder as they took their seats. I almost broke then, almost ran out there and told her the truth. But I couldn't. Not yet. And then Jessica arrived. She was dressed in black from head to toe. Elegant, understated, perfect. Her hair was styled. Her makeup was flawless but subtle. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine spread on how to dress for a funeral. She paused at the entrance to the chapel, one hand on the doorframe as if she needed support. Several people immediately moved to help her, guide her to the front row. She thanked them in a voice so broken, so weak, that it made my stomach turn. She took her seat in the front row, directly in front of the casket. My casket, the one that held nothing but weights to make it seem occupied. "She's committed now," Foster said quietly beside me. "She's here, in public, playing the widow. There's no backing out." The service began. The funeral director gave opening remarks. A pastor I'd never met read generic platitudes about life and death and eternal rest. It was surreal, hearing myself eulogized by someone who didn't know me. Then David stood up to speak. "Marcus Cole was my best friend," he began, his voice shaking. "We met in college, started a business together, built something we were proud of. He was brilliant, dedicated, loyal. He was..." David's voice broke. He was the brother I never had, and I can't believe he's gone. I had to look away, couldn't watch my best friend cry over my supposed death. Marcus loved his wife deeply, David continued, and I forced myself to look back. He talked about Jessica all the time, how lucky he was, how grateful. He built his entire life around making her happy. And I know that wherever he is now, his biggest concern is that she's okay, that she's taken care of. Jessica was crying, beautiful, perfect tears rolling down her cheeks. She dabbed at them with a tissue, her shoulders shaking with suppressed sobs. It was the performance of a lifetime. "When do we move?" I asked Mills. "Not yet. Wait." After David sat down, Rachel stood up. My sister, who'd never particularly liked Jessica, but who was putting that aside to comfort her now. "Marcus was the best brother," Rachel said. "Growing up, he always protected me, always looked out for me. And when our parents died, he was my rock. He helped me through it, even though he was grieving too. That's who Marcus was, someone who put others first, someone who cared deeply." She looked directly at Jessica. "And he loved his wife more than anything. I know he'd want Jessica to be happy, to move forward, to live a full life. Marcus wouldn't want her to be stuck in grief." Jessica stood up suddenly. "I need air," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I'm sorry, I need a moment." She practically ran out of the chapel. Mills immediately pulled out her phone. "Team 2, target is on the move. Where is she going?" "Heading toward the funeral director's office," a voice responded. My heart rate spiked. She was coming this way. "Get ready," Mills said. "Foster, position yourself outside the door. Marcus, stay quiet. Don't move. Don't breathe loud. Nothing." I heard footsteps in the hallway, then Jessica's voice talking to the funeral director. "I need to finalize the insurance paperwork," she was saying. "I know it's inappropriate timing, but the insurance company said I needed to file within 72 hours of the service, and I don't want any delays in the payout. You understand?" "Of course, Mrs. Cole," the funeral director said smoothly. He was in on the plan, knew exactly what was happening. "Right this way." They walked past the office I was in. I could see Jessica through the crack in the door. She looked calm now, composed. The crying had stopped completely. They went into the office next door. I could hear everything through the thin walls. "Here's the death certificate," the funeral director said. 3 copies, as requested." "Perfect." There was the sound of papers being shuffled. "And you've confirmed he's been cremated?" My blood ran cold. "Cremated?" "Mrs. Cole," the funeral director said carefully. "We discussed burial, the family plot. You were very specific about—" "I changed my mind," Jessica interrupted. "I want him cremated. Today. Before anyone can— I just want it done. How much extra would that cost?" "Mrs. Cole, I'm not sure I can arrange that on such short notice. I'll pay double, triple, whatever it takes. I want him cremated immediately." I understood instantly. She wanted to destroy any possibility of evidence, any chance of exhumation or autopsy. She wanted to eliminate the body completely. Except there was no body. "Mrs. Cole," the funeral director said slowly, "I'm afraid there's been a complication." "What kind of complication?" "The body," he said. "It's missing." Silence. Complete, absolute silence. "What do you mean, missing?" Jessica's voice had changed, harder now, sharper. "I mean the casket in there is empty, Mrs. Cole, and I think you need to come with me." "I don't understand what you're—" The door burst open. Agent Foster and Detective Mills were there, badges out. Jessica Cole, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, wire fraud, embezzlement, and about a dozen other charges we'll discuss downtown. I heard a crash, someone gasping, shouting. I stood up and walked out of my office into the hallway. Jessica was standing there, her face white, her mouth open in shock. When she saw me, she actually stumbled backward. "Hello, Jessica," I said. She couldn't speak, couldn't move, just stood there staring at me like I was a ghost. "Surprise," I said softly. I survived. Jessica's legs gave out. She would have collapsed completely if Agent Foster hadn't caught her arm, not out of kindness, but to keep her upright for the handcuffs. "You're dead," she whispered, staring at me like I was something impossible. "You died. The hospital said, the death certificate. You're dead." "No, Jessica," I said, walking closer. "You tried to kill me. There's a difference." Her face cycled through emotions so fast I could barely track them. Shock, confusion, fear, and then, finally, rage. Pure, undiluted rage. "You set me up," she hissed. "This whole thing was a trap." "Says the woman who hired someone to run me off the road," I replied calmly. "Tell me, Jessica, how does it feel? Thinking you'd won? Counting my money? Planning your new life with Ryan?" Her eyes widened. "Ryan. Oh God. Ryan, run. It's a trap, they know." "Ryan Stanton was arrested 40 minutes ago at his motel," Detective Mills interrupted, pulling Jessica's arms behind her back. "He's currently being transported to FBI headquarters. Jessica Cole, you have the right to remain silent." As Mills read her rights, I heard commotion from the chapel. The funeral guests had heard the shouting. David appeared in the hallway first, his face confused, then shocked, then overwhelmed. "Marcus? Marcus, you're alive?" "I'm alive, David. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I couldn't tell you." He didn't say anything, just pulled me into a hug and held on tight. His shoulders were shaking. "You bastard," he whispered. "You incredible, beautiful bastard. I thought I'd lost you." "I know. I'm sorry." Rachel was next, pushing past the FBI agents, tears streaming down her face. "Marcus! Oh my God, Marcus!" She hit my chest, actually hit me, then hugged me. "I hate you. I hate you so much. Do you know what these last 2 weeks have been like?" "I know. I'm sorry." More people crowded into the hallway. Friends, colleagues, neighbors, all staring in disbelief. At me, alive. At Jessica, in handcuffs. At the agents surrounding us. "I don't understand," someone said. "What's happening?" "What's happening?" Agent Foster said loudly, his voice carrying through the crowd. "Is that Jessica Cole is being arrested for conspiracy to commit murder. She hired someone to kill her husband, stage it as an accident, and steal over $2 million. Marcus Cole survived the attempt on his life and has been cooperating with law enforcement to bring his would-be killers to justice." The silence was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop. Then everyone started talking at once. Questions, exclamations, shock, disbelief. Several people pulled out their phones, taking photos, recording video. This would be all over social media within minutes. Jessica seemed to realize this, seemed to understand that her carefully crafted image was being destroyed in real time, in front of everyone who knew her. "This isn't what it looks like," she said desperately, looking at the crowd. "Marcus, he's lying. He's trying to frame me. He was abusive, controlling. I was trying to escape, to protect myself." "Save it," Mills said sharply. "We have you on camera, multiple cameras, in your house, at the diner, counting stolen money with your accomplice. We have audio of you planning the murder. We have financial records showing every dollar you stole. You're done, Mrs. Cole." Jessica's face crumpled. The mask finally fell away completely. "I want a lawyer," she whispered. "Smart decision," Mills said. "Take her away." 2 FBI agents led Jessica toward the exit. She tried to keep her head down, but the crowd pressed in, everyone wanting to see, to photograph, to witness her fall from grace. Someone actually booed. Another person called her a murderer. This was the public humiliation I'd wanted. Jessica, exposed as the monster she was, in front of everyone who'd felt sorry for her, everyone who'd supported her, everyone she'd lied to. But watching it happen, I felt empty, not satisfied, not victorious, just tired. "Come on," Dr. Park said quietly. She'd been standing in the back, watching everything. "You need to sit down. You're still recovering." She guided me to a private room while the FBI cleared out the funeral home. I could hear Jessica screaming as they put her in the car. Something about lawyers and false charges and how I'd pay for this. David and Rachel came in a few minutes later. "Explain," Rachel demanded. "Everything, from the beginning." So I did. Told them about the cameras, the footage, Jessica's affair with Ryan, the murder plot, the stolen money. All of it. They listened in silence, their faces growing darker with each revelation. 18 years, Rachel said when I finished. "You were married to this woman for 18 years and never suspected?" "No," I admitted. "I thought we were happy. I thought she loved me. I was wrong about everything." David was pacing. "She took the payroll account too. She would have destroyed the business if I hadn't covered it. She would have put 60 employees out of work and not cared at all." "She doesn't care about anything except money and herself," I said. "That's what I learned from those videos. There's nothing real in her. No empathy, no conscience, no humanity. Just calculation and performance." "What happens now?" Rachel asked. "Now the FBI builds their case. Jessica and Ryan will be charged federally because they crossed state lines and used wire fraud. The trial will probably be next year. With the evidence we have, conviction is almost certain." "How long will she get?" 20 years minimum, maybe life." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "Good," she said finally. "She tried to kill my brother. She deserves everything she gets." The next few weeks were a blur. The story exploded across local news, then national news. "Man fakes death to catch wife's murder plot" was a headline that apparently sold papers. I gave one interview to a reputable journalist just to set the record straight. Then I refused all other media requests. Ryan Stanton broke first. Facing conspiracy to commit murder charges, he made a deal with prosecutors, testified against Jessica in exchange for a reduced sentence. He admitted to everything, the 3 previous murders, how he'd recruited Jessica, the entire plot. He showed no remorse, just wanted to minimize his prison time. His testimony revealed even more disturbing details. He'd been watching me for months before approaching Jessica at her gym, had studied my routine, my habits, my vulnerabilities, had specifically targeted Jessica because his research showed she was unhappy, restless, susceptible to flattery and excitement. "It's a numbers game," he told investigators. "Out of every 10 unhappy wives I approach, maybe 1 or 2 are cold enough to actually go through with it." Jessica was perfect, greedy, narcissistic, and completely lacking in conscience. Jessica's trial was scheduled for 8 months later. Her lawyer tried every defense imaginable. She was coerced, She was abused. She was mentally ill. She didn't understand what was happening. The video evidence was manipulated. None of it worked. The jury saw the footage of her kissing Ryan, planning my death, toasting to freedom with wine. They saw her count the stolen money with a smile. They saw her at the funeral, performing grief while asking about cremation to hide evidence. They deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judge sentenced her to 35 years in federal prison. She'd be 73 when she got out, if she lived that long. "Mr. Cole," the judge said during sentencing, "I want you to know that this court recognizes the extraordinary trauma you've endured. Not just physical trauma from the attempt on your life, but the psychological trauma of discovering that your partner of 18 years was willing to murder you for money. I hope you find peace and healing." I nodded, but didn't speak. What was there to say? Jessica was led away in shackles. She didn't look at me, didn't look at anyone, just stared straight ahead, her face blank, as if she'd already left her body behind. Ryan got 20 years. With his testimony and cooperation, the prosecutors gave him a break. But 20 years was still 20 years. He'd be 55 when he got out. The FBI found evidence linking him to 5 murders, not 3. 5 people dead so he could steal their money. 5 families destroyed, all for cash and the thrill of getting away with it. He almost got away with it a 6th time. Almost. In the months after the trial, I had to rebuild everything. My business, my reputation, my life. David and I worked 16-hour days getting Cole Security Solutions back on track. The publicity actually helped. Businesses wanted security systems installed by the man who'd caught his own would-be killers with cameras. Ironic, but useful. I sold the house. Couldn't live there anymore. Every room had memories of Jessica, of our fake marriage, of the lies I'd believed. A young couple with a baby bought it. I hope they're happy there. I hope they fill it with real love. I bought a condo downtown, smaller, modern, with a view of the water. Started over. Rachel visited often. We grew closer than we'd been in years. Shared trauma has a way of bringing people together. "You should date," she said one evening over dinner. "You're only 52. You have years ahead of you. Don't let Jessica take that from you too." "Maybe someday," I said, "but not yet. I need to learn to trust again first." "Fair enough. But Marcus, when you're ready, be careful, trust your instincts, and maybe install cameras on the first date." I laughed. It felt good to laugh. Dr. Park checked on me regularly, not as a doctor, but as a friend. We had coffee sometimes, talked about life and healing and moving forward. "You're doing well," she observed during one of our meetings. "Better than I expected, honestly." "I had good motivation," I said. "I could have died in that crash, or in the hospital while I was vulnerable, but I didn't. I survived. And surviving means something. It means I get another chance, a better chance. What will you do with it?" "Live honestly," I said. "Build real relationships. Stop taking people at face value. Stay paranoid about security." I smiled. Maybe that last one is a given, considering my profession. "Paranoia saved your life," Dr. Park pointed out. It did. Those cameras I installed, the ones Jessica didn't know about, they were my insurance policy. I just never thought I'd need insurance against my own wife. 6 months after the trial, I got a letter. From Jessica. Prison mail, carefully screened by authorities before reaching me. I almost threw it away without reading it. Almost. But curiosity won. "Dear Marcus, I know you probably hate me. You have every right to. What I did was unforgivable. But I need you to understand something. I never meant for it to go this far. Ryan was supposed to scare you, not kill you. He was supposed to make you think about mortality, make you want to enjoy life more, spend more money, travel, do things. I thought if you faced death, you'd change. You'd become less boring, less predictable. But Ryan had other plans. He wanted you dead. He convinced me it was the only way. And I was weak. I was stupid. I was greedy. I fell for his manipulation just like those other women did. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that somewhere, buried deep, there was a time I loved you. Before Ryan. Before the money. Before everything went wrong. I hope you find happiness. Real happiness. The kind I threw away. Jessica. I read it twice. Then I burned it in my kitchen sink. She was lying, of course, trying to rewrite history, make herself the victim, shift blame to Ryan. The cameras didn't lie. The footage showed her planning, celebrating, actively participating in every step of my planned murder. There was no scared woman manipulated by a bad man. There was only a cold, calculating person who wanted money and excitement and saw murder as an acceptable path to both. I never wrote back. Today, 18 months after the accident that should have killed me, I'm standing in my new condo, looking out at the Seattle skyline. Cole Security Solutions is thriving. I'm healthy. I'm free. I'm surrounded by people who actually care about me. Jessica is in prison where she belongs. Ryan is in prison where he belongs. Justice was served. But more importantly, I learned something invaluable. I learned that trust must be earned, not assumed. I learned that cameras and evidence and truth can protect you when nothing else can. I learned that surviving isn't just about living through trauma. It's about what you do after. And I'm doing everything I can to make this second chance count, because Jessica wanted me dead, but I'm more alive now than I've been in years. She thought she'd won. She was wrong. I won. Not because I'm richer or happier or better off, but because I survived. Because I found the truth. Because I refused to be a victim. And that's worth more than all the money she tried to steal. If you enjoyed this story and found yourself wondering what you'd do in my situation, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below telling me what shocked you most about Jessica's betrayal. And if you've ever experienced betrayal in your own life, know that you're not alone. Survival is possible. Justice is possible. Moving forward is possible. Thanks for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you to trust your instincts, protect yourself, and never assume that the people closest to you are who they appear to be. Stay safe out there, and maybe consider installing a few extra cameras.